He's an author and an international blogger. He's a mental health advocate and accomplished musician. From mental health to music to movies and more, Rebecca and Joe Lombardo provide a healing platform for awareness and a voice for change. Hey everyone, this is Shane Schultz of the Speaking of the Heart Radio Network. It is Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That means it's time for Voices for Change, and this show is done by my good friends, the Lombardo family. That's Rebecca and Joe. Take it away, guys.
Hey,
Thanks,
good
Shane.
morning, everybody. Hope you're having a good weekend so far. Everything's going just fine with us. Joe?
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Happy to have you with us on this fun little ride. And really quick, wanted to say thank you to our guest from last week, Rudy Caceres. It was a pleasure having you on, sir. Hope you're listening, and look forward to talking with you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rudy. And that being said, I will bring in our guest for today, Kelley McElreath. Am I correct, Kelley?
You were really close. It's McElreath.
Okay. Yeah, I got the pronunciation from your Facebook page, but it wasn't, it didn't actually do the sound, so I wasn't 100% sure on that.
We kept going back and forth. Is it this way? Is it that way? So.
Y'all were close.
Yeah.
we are glad to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's just get right on into it, shall we?
Oh, sure.
Our listeners might not be familiar with your story, so would you mind giving us sort of a glimpse into your life and what got you to this point?
Well, I've had a life filled with different types of tragedies, and I guess the most life-altering one was when I attempted to take my own life and was not supposed to survive. I was on life support for several days. The doctors weren't expecting me to make it. Actually thought if I did, I would not even be normal. So I woke up, was furious, honestly, for a long time that I lived. It took a long time for me to heal and grow over all that. And at some point I realized that, I had been a life coach for 10 years. And I love being a life coach. It's my most favorite thing ever. It's so fulfilling. But I realized that I was unable to coach myself. So it caused me to start a program of my own to help people who are suicidal, because I was in counseling for 2 years, every single Wednesday, for 2 years straight. And I was in counseling the Wednesday before the Saturday I tried to take my life. And there's no way I would have told, a friend or a counselor, because I didn't want to be locked up in a mental hospital. I wanted to be out of here. So I want to change that and take a different approach to people that are suicidal and be a safe place for them.
Our stories kind of cross paths a little bit because I'm a survivor of a suicide attempt as well. I think it's fantastic that you've brought it out into the open with your story. I feel strongly that we all have to just keep talking and talking and talking until finally it's accepted topic.
Right.
Was that the inspiration for you to speak out and want to help others, try and guide people that are down this path, was your experience with your suicide attempt?
Yeah, like I said, I was really angry for a long time that it wasn't successful, and obviously I was still very depressed and still suicidal. I couldn't commit suicide or try to take my life again because I saw the damage that it did to my children. I have 2 teenage girls, so felt like I was completely out of options. And so I was a lot better, and one day I was just having a complete meltdown, and actually I was going to start all of this full time, what I'm doing right now, to help people. And I only had about 4 months of savings to do it, and I quit my full-time job. I was a trainer at a life coaching school, and I just knew in my heart this is what I was supposed to do. But when it came down to it and me realizing, oh my gosh, this is so scary, I just let my mind get away from me, and I went into a spiral this particular day. And I was sitting in front of my long mirror in my bedroom and just bawling my eyes out, all alone, just rocking back and forth, wondering, what am I going to do? I hate that I've let myself get this low. I didn't want anybody to know because, now people do know my story, and how could I let anybody know that this is where I'm at this time? And as I was crying and looking at myself in the mirror, I thought, how many other people are sitting on the floor crying, looking at themselves, thinking, what do I do? I have no one to call. I don't want to be locked up somewhere. I don't want to be back in a mental institution. I have no options. And at that time, I just thought, somehow I've made it through to today. I have gone through so many things, and I've lost a child when he was 4 months old. I've had a miscarriage. I have no parents. I don't have grandparents. I mean, I've been through a lot of shit. And I just thought, somehow, some way I've made it. So I just thought, I'm going to get up and take a shower. And literally, it went from that point to where I'm at now, where I realized I have so many tools in my own back pocket that I use to keep myself alive every day. And I can share this with other people, and they have no idea that it's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. When you're struggling, you still have low points currently, that you go through now. And when you are struggling, what kind of coping skills or hobbies or what have you do you use to help you get through those tough times?
Well, I'm a cancer survivor, and I'm almost 6 years in, and so actually we're over 6 years now.
Congratulations.
You. Yep. And so when I got diagnosed, it was actually the one tragedy that I had gone through in my life that I handled the greatest. And I looked back, I've spent several years really analyzing my life and my own self and, just trying to be self-aware and what's really going on with me, what have I done, what's my part in what's happened in my life, and, just evaluating all of that. And I realized that I handle cancer so differently. And so I thought, man, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, I had a double mastectomy and chemo, and I had really, really long, pretty hair and lost it all. I mean, how did I do that? There had to have been some way. And so I started going through basically learning to coach myself like I coach my clients. So I started asking myself, how did you do that? How did you get diagnosed with cancer and you handled that like so beautifully and then screw everything else up? I just didn't know what I had done. And I literally just started writing about it, and I realized it was my attitude. I had such a positive attitude. I had a great support group. I immediately got in contact with lots of other breast cancer survivors, and I started a breast cancer blog, and I spent that whole time during my fight helping other people that were newly diagnosed. I started I don't know what you call it, this thing where I made hospital gowns, and I had a team of people making them, and they had pockets on the inside so you could put your drain tubes in there, and they had pockets on the outside. And that way when they went to the doctor, they didn't have to feel like they had lost all their dignity by wearing this hospital gown that somebody that has worn this thing that they're now wearing. And so those things are what helped me through it. And when I very first was diagnosed, I spent, I can't tell you how many hours watching America's Funniest Home Videos and funny YouTube videos of babies and dogs and just staying positive. And that's how I got through it.
Wow. That's inspiring.
It is. It is, definitely. And it's amazing. There are a lot of people that kind of, speak about blogging in a negative way, that it's sort of typical and it's everybody's response to their personal tragedy or what have you. But I personally, I can't say enough about, blogging as a tool to help you get through difficult times. And, it could just be the start. And like you said, you go on with all these other activities and these types of, things that you're doing to help you get through it. But blogging was kind of the start of it all.
Yeah.
So there might be some people that devalue that as a tool, but I can't, when I'm speaking to people, I can't say enough about it as a positive step in helping you with your situation.
Definitely.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed when Beck started blogging was the sense of community that it can end up developing, because you're talking about what you've gone through in your blog, and all of a sudden you've got other people reading it and going, hey, I'm going through this as well. And before you know it, you feel like you got backup, and you're feeling a little bit better about yourself. The person's reading your blog, they understand what you're going through, and they're feeling better about themselves. And it's really a positive experience, I feel.
I think so too. And, especially dealing with mental health, suicidal ideation, I have shared my story. I want to help anybody, obviously. I want to help women know they can go through actually anything and make it through it. But I fully believe that if we were able to help the men in this society with their mental health, because, if they admit to being suicidal or whatever, they can think that they're weak. And, let's face it, most of the time there's no way they could say they were. They're CEOs of companies. You can't do that. And so I would love to be able to help more men, because if we help them, then we as a complete society, we gain from that. We're going to do so much better for that. Our children would be better. I just think the world would be a much better place.
Oh, I completely agree with you. Are you taking any steps currently to sort of support men in the community? Or do you have plans for that in the future? Website or chat or anything like that?
I blog about it a lot. I talk about it like this on other shows that I'm on, and I try to follow any men's Twitter account that they are doing the same thing. So I try to collaborate and work with those people that are doing that, because I was married for 20 years, and unfortunately, my husband, after my last treatment, I was acting very strange, so I hired a private investigator, because my husband was so wonderful that I knew if I even mentioned it, nobody would believe me, and found out, long story short, that he had been cheating the entire time, that he was such an awesome caregiver for me when I had cancer.
Oh,
and not only then, but the majority of those 20 years. So I had to go through, obviously a lot of anger and just plain hatred of him. And once I got through that all and I worked through it, then I was able, like I said earlier, to step back and self-evaluate and say, okay, yes, I know what he did sucked. You shouldn't do that to another human being. However, let's just look past that, and what was my part? And I was bitchy and controlling. There's a lot of things that I did. Yeah, I was insecure or I was jealous because he had done some things, but it's still, I have 50% part in that. And so I realized how much pressure men are under. Especially if you have a family and you're trying to be the sole supporter, which he was. He let me stay home for a long time and sacrificed greatly. And so it's those things that now that I'm on the other side of it, that I have a lot more empathy for men and what they go through being a man. And so that's why my heart just goes out to them, because, I have to have sympathy for my own ex-husband, because he had never, ever gone through one tragedy in his life until I was diagnosed. He didn't know what in the hell to do.
Yeah. I get that. I just, for me being a caregiver, I can't justify what he did. To me, there's no justification. When the person that you love is at their absolute lowest, you were going through, cancer treatment at the time, or like for Beck, when she was hospitalized after her last suicide attempt, I can't, to me, there's no justification in stepping out on that person that you love, that you're committed to, I can say that as a man. I can't fathom it. I really can't, and I realize that, there are men out there that, all they can think of is themselves and their needs, but you have to be able to step up. You have to be able to step above what you want and realize, hey, I love this person. I need to be there for this person no matter what. And it just doesn't, to me, there's no excuse. That's just me. You could be the most, you said for your part, you were controlling and, quote, bitchy. That's still no excuse. I'm sorry. It's just, to me, it's still no excuse. If you're going through that type of deal, and I've read your story on your website, Kelley, and you've been through a lot. God bless you, dear. You have been through a lot. There is just no excuse for it. There isn't. If you can't control yourself, then you shouldn't be in the situation to begin with. You shouldn't be in the relationship.
I do really appreciate you saying that. It's hard, because I think I was telling Shane the other day that I really believe that until the last 2 years that I haven't realized how significant and deep and dark my story is, because I went through so much stuff my whole life. I thought that was everybody's life. I mean, I didn't think, me and Shane share a lot of the same things. So when I talked to him, it ended up into like a 2.5 hour conversation, because we're like, oh my gosh, there's another individual out there like me.
It can do that when you talk to Shane on the phone. That happens. That's just talking to Shane. I'm telling you.
Hey, wait a minute now. Hang on.
I was just gonna.
No, we love you.
I was just gonna say that I do greatly appreciate what you said, because my own mentor, who's a psychologist and a great help to me, she always responds like you do when I try to say anything about in any kind of defense of him. She says, stop defending the man. This is not right. He should not have done that. A human doesn't do that to another human being. And I get that, but I think where my sympathy and empathy came in for him, now don't get me wrong, I never talked to the man and don't want to, but how I changed my thinking from your thinking to mine is how people could say your exact words, that I would actually try to take my life after living most of my life without my mother and leave my 2 teenage daughters to live the same life. How awful. Mm-hmm. There's no reason for it. There's no justification for it. That is people's mentality. So you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I see that, absolutely. I can't argue with that, and I agree. You don't want to leave your children in the same way. A little distracted and trying to collect my thoughts here on how I want to say this. I can understand feeling sorry for him in so much as that he felt what he felt and did what he did, but it's still a matter of, I'm sorry, it's just not right.
It's sort of like I'm always trying to explain to Joe that I, in the past, have had difficult relationships, and it's usually with a friend or a family member or what have you. And when I look back on my history of the difficult relationships, I'm always trying to explain to him that the common denominator in all of these relationships is me. So what do I need to be doing to step up and be a better friend or a better sibling or what have you? So I understand where you're coming from with your point of view. I do also understand where Joe's coming from. I mean, being married to him, it's, everything that I've ever wanted, and I could never see him doing something like that. But I understand this. I understand it from both points of view, and I get what he's trying to say, but, I get what you're trying to say as well.
Well, I think one thing we can all agree on here, this is the part that I know we all agree on, and especially this is for you, Joe, is infidelity is a choice. And my mental illness is not my choice. And I've never had one single person read my story and not say to me, oh my gosh, I would have already done this after I lost a child. So I know people that aren't even suicidal look at my story and think, I don't know how you didn't do this a long time ago. I don't know how you're alive, those kinds of things. So even your normal person with no mental health issues can see that that's a lot of stuff to go through.
Right.
Exactly. What Shane wanted to chime in on something. What did you want to say, Shane?
Yeah, I did. Like Kelley had mentioned, we had quite a conversation, and believe it or not, we are kindred spirits, and there's no question about that. Let me ask you this, Kelley. The fact that you are sitting there saying the things that you are as far as what's concerning your ex-husband, you've made it clear, though, that you are not in contact with the person anymore, and that you really are doing this for yourself. Right? Yes. I mean, you're doing it for yourself. You're making it so that you can release from the pain and the strife that comes along with the situation being as it is. Am I correct in saying that?
That's exactly right. And after, when I realized I was out of options being, I couldn't try to take my life again. I realized then that I had to do something, yes, for me and myself, but the one thing I couldn't do is forgive myself. I mean, I literally hired a coach that I know and asked her to coach me, and it came up, I wasn't even being coached on this, it just came up that I hadn't forgiven myself. And at some point, she says to me, how many more days, weeks, months, years are you going to have to pay yourself, punish yourself, before you can forgive yourself? And I realized, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I'm doing to myself. I wanted to beat myself up. I wanted my kids to hate me just so I could punish, so I could pay for it. And
Right.
that's honestly how I felt until I started the Survivor Coach and my mission. And it just totally shifted in my thinking that, oh my gosh, if I can help people in those little moments before they try to take their life, oh my goodness. And when I have people, message me, call me, email me, and tell me that they did not try to take their life because of something they read of mine or a story they heard or a radio interview, I know it's all worth it. And I'm now able to look at that and say, you know what? I've been through a hard, hard road. The cards that I was dealt was not fair, but this is how I'm doing it. And now, look, I'm okay. I rarely ever have a suicidal thought. I sure don't have suicidal spirals. And I'm so much better, so I know what I'm doing is working.
Did you ever have a time as to where you just didn't know when or how to get started? Hi, I'm Shane Schultz. Join Claudia Israel and I as we bring you The Mindset on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This week, we're going to discuss just when and how you can get started in order to make a change in your daily life and make a difference for it. This Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Speaking of the Heart Radio Network.
Let me ask you, considering everything that you've gone through and, with your ex-husband and whatnot, do you have trouble trusting others or letting people into your life? Has that come up as something you've noticed at all?
Just a tad, Joe, just a tad. Why, of course. I trust no one.
Yeah, it's
yes.
One of the local radio shows, one of the personalities on there, their mantra is trust no one, help no one. So that kind of cracks me up. Said that.
I have I don't even know of a clean way to put this. I have a real, very direct approach with my coaching, my personality. I'm going to tell you like it is. That's just the way I am. And I'm very, people used to say aggressive, and now I've changed it to assertive. And, that's just how I deal with things. And I've just decided that, a lot of people ask me, am I worried about the risk that I'm taking because someone could call me suicidal and go ahead and take their life? And I even had somebody on Twitter the other day say to me, well, if what you're doing is working, then the suicide rates wouldn't have gone up 14%. And I said, well, it saved my life, and that's one person. So am I going to stop trying because suicide rates are going up? Never. If somebody did try to take their life after talking to me, would I be upset? Yes, I'd be very upset. However, I would be so thankful that they knew they could call me and trust me, at least as one last-ditch effort, which I didn't have, and I know a bunch of us don't have. So, yes, I do have problems with trust, but the coolest thing in the world is people like you guys and Shane and so many other people. Most of the people that I have a relationship with on Twitter are all men, and they're telling me things they've never told another soul in their life because they don't trust people. So that makes it all work.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that Joe and I both struggle with, even after it's happened several years ago, is the loss of a parent. I lost my mother in 2008. He lost his father, and it was 2004, Ronnie?
Yeah, early 2004.
Do you have any thoughts or advice to prepare people for that type of loss, or, how to move forward after it does happen?
Did you both lose your parent to what, cancer, or what was it?
Mine was lung cancer, yes. She'd stopped smoking 21 years prior, but she still got lung cancer and passed.
Yeah, mine's a little more involved. My dad was older. He was 84 when he passed, and it was a week before Christmas. He was looking for my mom. He was a little out of sorts. He thought she was in the basement, and he fell down the stairs and broke his hip. They took him to the hospital. Because of his age, they couldn't really operate on the leg to fix it, so it had to heal naturally. He got taken to a rehab facility to rehab his leg, and unfortunately he was pretty much ignored there. So he was malnourished, he developed bed sores, it became toxic, and by the time we figured this all out and got him back to the hospital, it was pretty much too late. He passed away fairly quickly after that. And I'd actually come to find out after the fact that he also was fighting some type of cancer. And
that he knew of?
He knew, my mom knew, I didn't know. And
Wow.
yeah, I didn't find out till after he had passed, and so we're not really sure what actually caused his death. You know, if it had been the cancer or the bed sores or the malnutrition, just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He'd had a bypass on his heart, too, and he'd had to stop smoking. So
Yeah.
he had a lot of health concerns by the time he reached that age.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for both of you that you had to go through losing a parent. It is obviously so hard. For you, Joe, I think it's an injustice of what happened, which can really fuel a lot of anger. I don't know if it has or hasn't, but it would for me, for sure. I always recommend that people write in third person because you're able to then have more empathy for yourself. You know, we're so hard on ourselves. So if you were to write, you were to start writing, you could say, Joe found out that his dad was sick. Joe this, Joe that. This really hurt Joe. Joe is so angry and doesn't know what to do. That kind of talk. It's just, you're just kind of like an outside perspective almost. It's a really cool thing. So I suggest that you try it. And then,
I will.
Becca, the same for you too, but I know for me, I lost my child when he was 4 months old. I had no clue. I mean, just bam, I wake up and an hour later he died. My mom was sick for a while, and so I would never want to lose another person abruptly like that because it's just so much pain. So I've always looked at it myself, and I was best friends with my mom, and I was only 23, and I was a baby of the family. And so I just looked at it eventually that the day that she died and went to the funeral home, which was the same place my son was also buried, I was a complete junkie and strung out on coke really, really bad. And I literally went in there and saw her and laid my hand on her chest and said, I will never touch drugs again as long as I live. And I'm almost 47 years old this month and have not touched drugs.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations
on one hand,
your sobriety.
Yeah.
I
you very
know
much.
what a struggle that can be.
Yeah, so I just think, well, if anything, she saved my life. She also had a really rough life. And I just thought about that and how, well, she doesn't have to suffer through any more of that again. And especially when they die of cancer, you just are kind of grateful that they are not having to live in pain and doctor's appointments and all that again. And I just really focus on how thankful I am for the time I did have with her, when I knew she was going to die. But I had a heads up. Some people, they don't get that lucky.
Right.
So that's really what I do with it and focus on the good times. So I don't know about y'all, but oh my gosh, when my mom died, every little thing I ever did come back to my memory. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that to my mom and wish I wouldn't have acted like this teenager. You know what you did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I actually apologized to my mom right before she passed when she was on life support. She could still hear us, and I actually ended up apologizing to her for my teenage years because I knew how absolutely horrible I had been during that time. So, yeah, I understand that completely.
I'm so glad you had the opportunity to do that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I am too. As painful as it was, I'm glad for the chance to be able to do that.
Oh, definitely.
Your story, it's fascinating, it's heartbreaking, it's inspiring. Have you ever considered writing a book, Kelley? Just a memoir or something?
I just
another way
got
to
it off to
get
the editor.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations.
About 2.5 weeks ago, yeah, so I just need to get my cover designed and completely edited, and it's going to be out there hopefully September, no later than early October.
Well, keep us in the loop with that so I can talk about it on my Twitter as well, because being, an author of a memoir myself, I know how difficult it is to kind of get out there at the beginning and everything. So if there's any advice I can offer or any support you need from me during those first few months, just don't hesitate to message me, because
Sure, appreciate it.
I learned a lot of things the hard way while promoting my book. So
yeah, I'll have to message you later because I do have some questions.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
You have a pretty big social media presence. If someone wanted to seek out your help, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
My website is thesurvivorcoach.com. On Twitter, which I think is fabulous, is survivorcoach16. And all other social media, you can just search The Survivor Coach and find me that way. And my email address is thesurvivorcoach@gmail.com. You can contact me any of those ways.
Okay, great. That's
Awesome.
It's easier to remember than all the gibberish I have to give out.
So we know about the book coming down the pike. Where do you go from here? What other plans do you have for the future?
If I had my dream come true, it would be just traveling around speaking and sharing my story, because not everybody can afford my coaching prices, and I still want to be able to help people but also make a living. And I just really, really believe that my program helps somebody, but I also believe that my story helps people, just hearing it. So on the, trying to make a living side, I would love to go share my story and sell my book. And then on my mission side, I would love to be filled up with speaking at high schools and college campuses because of how high the suicide rates are among that age group.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you have tattoos, but once you get one, you can't stop getting them type thing. So that's how I feel about writing. I finished this book and I finally got it done, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, people that can't afford my coaching, or they can have 9 months, they're suicidal now. Well, they need something. And, what if it's the middle of the night and they're in, Australia and they can't call me or whatever. So I'm going to create, my program's called Surviving Survival. And because I realize even though I've survived these things, I don't know how to now survive. How do you now, you and Joe, how do you now live without your parent? I mean, it's so hard. So I called it Surviving Survival, and what I'm going to do is write a short book called that with a workbook that goes with it, which is funny because I've had so many people message me and ask me for something like that.
Oh,
so that's
great.
my next goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that sounds great.
That's one thing that I think people don't really think about is you have these traumatic life events that happen. You lose a parent, you survive a suicide attempt, losing a child, all these different things. And it's like an event horizon, and you get through it and you get past it. And then on the other side, it really is, well, where do I go from here? What do I do now? I know Beck felt that after she got out of the hospital, and I kind of felt that way too after she got out, was, what do we do now?
Right.
And it was a strange feeling, and you're trying to pick up the pieces of what you just been through, and you're a different human being than you were before. And how do you adjust for that? So for you to be able to coach a person through that experience, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm like you. I read your story as well, and I've never been able to connect with a therapist or really get any type of help from that process. So when you get out of the hospital, and this hospital that I was in was a joke. I mean, their idea of therapy was us watching movies. Yeah, I mean, there was nothing therapeutic about my stay there. So you're kind of stuck, because when you're someone who doesn't connect with a therapist and doesn't feel like it's any help to you whatsoever, you're kind of thinking, well, who is going to help me with what I have to deal with now? And you realize, which is a good thing, that you're going to help yourself, that you're going to take it into your own hands and you're going to make something out of it so that you can help yourself and possibly other people. And I think our stories are very similar in that. I'm grateful to anyone who has ever had that thought and does come out and speak, because even now I still have hard times. And if my own story and my own recovery isn't helping me get through any particular hard time, I can look to somebody like you who's succeeded even further than I have. So I'm grateful for your experiences and all of my experiences and the way that we're able to communicate with the outside world and sort of help them through their struggles as well.
Yeah, I think the stars align. I know when I first got diagnosed, you have to go through so many tests, and then you get through one, and this needs to be positive, and this one needs to be negative, and all these things need to happen for you to be okay. And I thought, oh my gosh, all the stars have to line up for me to be able to be okay. And that's kind of how life has been on the positive side. I feel like all the stars have lined up. The timing has been perfect for me. The fact that I even met you randomly, I think I just messaged you because I knew you were an author. Mm-hmm. And then Shane, just everything, how it works out, I believe the universe is conspiring to help us if we just look at it like that. But in response to what you said about therapy, this is what I always say. I say that psychologists and therapists and counselors, psychiatrists, I truly believe that most of them really do want to help people. But the problem is they know more about the brain than the person. And so that's why I'm trying to team up with more therapists that I do actually trust, because I know a lot about the brain because I've been into neuroscience with coaching, but I know all about the person. And I just don't believe there's no way I would go to a man and confide in him about the struggles I had losing my breast. Well, why would we go to somebody who's never actually had a thought of suicide? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's exactly right.
I'm 43 and I was diagnosed at 19, and it wasn't until this year that we found a psychiatrist that I actually like going to, that I feel listens to me, that is really focused on helping me with my issues. All the years prior, it was constant struggles with finding somebody who, we've been to a therapist that fell asleep when I was talking.
Yeah.
So, it's just been one thing after another. So when you finally find the right person, you got to hold on for dear life. But I'm glad that you are able to connect with therapists and possibly help enhance their programs so that they're more available for all of us.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And they actually understand what, those afflicted are going through. Because I think not all of them do. I think there's a huge disconnect.
I actually have had several psychologists on LinkedIn, of all places, message me and tell me, so they said, you're absolutely right. I can guarantee you the majority of my people really struggling with depression clients think about suicide all the time, but there's no way they would tell me. And I really think they would trust someone like you because you've been there exactly. Mm-hmm. So, that's my hope. But I was going to say, a lot of people hear my story and then they apologize to me. It drives me crazy. They apologize because they're like, I can't believe I feel bad about this couple of things that happened in my life after hearing your story. And the way I look at it is, there's 4 of us on this call, and every single one of us could be cut with a razor blade, the same exact size, the same depth, the same everything, but we're all going to feel it differently. We're all going to heal differently. We're not going to heal at the same time. Mine might take longer than yours. I might use Neosporin, and you may not use anything. It's all different. It's all individual, and that's what my program. That's why I do what I do, is because people disagree with me. I know, but I believe that every person, every one of us, has the answers that we need within ourselves, and I do not believe that anybody's mental illness is who they really are. And so I think whenever you can learn to separate your authentic being from your mental illness, that it's so much easier to take care of it. Yes, I'm on medication myself, and I don't know that I'd be okay without it. However, I know that it is so empowering to get through an episode like I did that day on the floor. And I did it all on my own. I didn't have to call a therapist. I didn't have to call a friend and bother them, because, after a while, you get tired of bothering your friends too. And I can be all alone.
If you even still have any friends.
Oh, exactly. That's exactly right. And so that's really what I want to empower people to do and know, is that they can actually help themselves, because so many people in therapy, they're going to go to therapy for the rest of their lives because all they do is go in and talk about the junk, not a solution.
Right. Yeah, I briefly did therapy for a year, and it helped me deal with my dad's death to a certain degree. It helped me to find some healing. But yeah, you're exactly right. It's mainly talking about the junk and not getting to necessarily the root of what's going on with you. And that's an issue. It
Definitely.
just is.
I think that we all have a major primal wound, and it can be something big or something small, but either way, whatever that primal wound is what causes us to see things through the lens that we view things.
Hey everyone, this is Shane Schultz of Arisen Strength, the motivational podcast. Join us this Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time as my good friend Wayne the Hack Hacker and we discuss the subject of frustrations and how they can, but they don't need to be consuming to our daily lives. This Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Speaking of the Heart Radio Network.
We've got about 10 minutes left here. So, Kelley, why don't you, just kind of give out some of your just basic pearls of wisdom that you offer people who are struggling, and we'll wrap it up with that.
Okay. Well, I can just say that I totally believe in people. I mean, I just believe that people, this is how I think. When somebody joins me and takes my program and they're my client, I see them whole. I see them as a whole person that's perfectly well and whole and not sick in any way. I see them as not just surviving and existing, but thriving in who they are. And that way, I hold that person up like holding a space for them the whole time I'm working with them. And then eventually, they rise up to meet themselves there. And so that's really what I think about myself. Even in my darkest hours, and, like you said, I mean, I still have my down days. I still worry. I still have, sometimes let my thoughts get away from me. But the best thing I do is think about sometime before that I really overcame something, such as the cancer. I'll just share a quick story with you. And this is really, I guess, my pearls of wisdom is that there's a different perspective on everything. You can always have a different perspective. So if you think your world is falling completely apart, just ask yourself, is there any other perspective? So I had super long hair, always got compliments on my hair. So when I found out I was going to have to lose my hair, I was devastated. And so I asked my hairdresser to come over to my house. Would she shave my head because I didn't want to go to the salon? And she said, absolutely. Well, that day came and I was just so depressed. I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to have to lose my hair. She's going to be crying. I'm going to be crying. This is just ridiculous. So I thought, okay, is there a different perspective? I mean, is there anything else I could possibly do to make this fun? Well, one, I had been eating all fruits and vegetables, raw diet, and juicing for up until this time. And I thought, you know what? I love peanut butter and chocolate Baskin Robbins ice cream. I got me a huge thing of that and was eating that while she was over. And I had always wanted Ellen's haircut when I turned 40, and I was 40. And I thought, I called her up and I said, hey, I have an idea. What if you came over and when you're here, you cut all these different haircuts that I want? Then when my hair comes back, I'll know which haircut I want. And so it was so much fun. I videotaped the whole thing and put it on YouTube. It was so great. And when I was done, I was so proud of myself that I had taken that awful lemons and turned it into some wonderful lemonade. And when I do something like that, when any of us do something like that, I'm sure you can tell in my voice, I know I am a rock star. I am the bomb.com. And that's how you get yourself out of those moments. And you think you can't, but you really can. Just talking about that now, all these years later, makes me go, yeah, I did that.
That's awesome. It's not a bad idea either, too.
No, it's a great idea, actually. I'm actually at a loss for words because it's such a brilliant idea. I think everyone needs to jump on board with that one that has to deal with that type of a situation. But
yes. It's a funny thought for me because if you ever saw how long Beck's hair is, you would understand.
Yeah, mine's down to the middle of my back now, so. I understand. I don't know what I would do if I had to lose my hair as well, so.
Well, something that has been working for the people on Twitter that I've been working with is a lot of people get down in their depression and they don't want to come out of it. You know how it is. Sometimes we wallow in it.
Right.
So what I've done is I have people, I say, let's try something totally different than me listening to what's going on, which I understand it's real, but let's go ahead and do something different and play a little game. I want you to message me your most favorite memory in the whole wide world. Of all your memories, what's your favorite one? The only key is you have to tell me all the details. How old you were, what you looked like, what the weather was like, what you felt like, the people that were with you. The more details, the better. And they get into telling me this story, and sometimes it's a memory that just pops up they totally forgot about. And they're so happy about that memory and going back and forth with me, they forget what they were even depressed about.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
You know, when you're when you're speaking about favorites, do you have anything like, favorite movies, top 3 favorite movies that are kind of your go-to in difficult times?
Well, they're probably all really terrible, but I love 50 First Dates, and I like Anchorman, Talladega Nights. I mean, that is hilarious and cracks me up. And there's one, I can't remember the name of it right now. You might know it, Becca, but it has Cameron Diaz in it, and she was the other woman. And, that's what it's called, The Other Woman.
Yeah, yep, I was going to say that.
I saw that movie shortly after my husband had dropped me off in the driveway from the mental hospital and never returned. And I went and saw that movie with some other single friends, and I was just like, yes!
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
I strongly recommend that one too. How about, I know I personally get a lot, maybe too much, out of music. I listen to a huge variety of music. What about you? Do you have go-tos for that as well?
I do. A long time ago, actually when I was going through a coaching program that I actually have adapted mine to, I was really about to lose it. I mean, I was suicidal. I knew at that time I wouldn't have ever done it, but I was in a bad, bad place. And my mentor coach was asking me, well, okay, you act like you're gonna die today, but you've gotten this far, so how have you done it? What did you do all day long? And I said, well, I love AC/DC when I'm angry, and I turned that up so loud I couldn't even hear my thoughts. And she says, well, can you go get back in your car and turn on the radio? And I just thought, wow, how simple is that? So that's what we're gonna say.
I was gonna say she's a rocker.
Yes. So what I do is I actually have Spotify, and now I have several different lists. I have I'm not a crier, but I know when I need to. So if I really think I need to cry about something, I'll listen to some songs that make me teary-eyed. Or if I need to be really strong and empowered and feel that way like I'm a rock star, then I listen to a playlist called I'm Free. And it's just really empowering songs by, Kelly Clarkson, Pink, Christina Aguilera, like that. And then I have one where if I'm just down and I just can't get myself out of it and nothing else is working for me, then I have a happy playlist. And it's just like Uptown Funk and, things like that just make me happy.
Oh, that's great. That's a great idea. Setting up that type of thing to, just to cover your mood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I personally never musically matured after the 90s, so I just go straight for the 90s music, and it doesn't matter if it's rap or Pearl Jam or Soundgarden or whatever. That stuff always makes me feel better.
I can attest to that.
What do you like, Joe?
Me? She married a metalhead. Yeah, so I'm over here listening to, Iron Maiden and Dream Theater and Van Halen and all these other different bands. With playing guitar and teaching it now, it's kind of nice that my students bring in different things, stuff that I wouldn't normally listen to, so I'm trying to teach them how to do this stuff and analyzing it, but for me, my happy place is old 80s metal.
Definitely. I love 80s metal too. I mean, AC/DC and, Def Leppard, Ozzy, all that stuff, but I like other things too. But one time I was listening to a Stevie Nicks song, and I was like, oh, I love Stevie Nicks. She goes, who is he? I'm like, oh my gosh, I am sure not my child.
Oh, that's painful.
That's hard
Yes.
to get through.
Oh, man.
Well, we're going to have to call it a day here for our show. We've run out of time for now. But, Kelley, you have been amazing. We are very grateful to you for hanging out with us for this last hour. And we wish you all the best in the future for your health and your campaign and everything. We're really glad to have gotten to know you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I have to say this is my favorite interview yet. I love the style.
Aw, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. We're still new at it, so that's good news for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good. Y'all work really good together.
Well,
Yeah,
thanks.
So
We
much.
got it down. We got it down. Hey, you know what, folks? This is Kelley McElreath, and I got to tell you, she is the Survivor Coach. So you want to definitely check her out on her different social media and her website. Kelley, you know that I love you. You know that we're going to be working together for a long, long time to come. I'm just so glad that you were able to get onto this platform to be able to share with Rebecca and Joe what it is that you've been through and what it is that you have empowered yourself to be able to do despite what it is that you're challenged by.
Thank you so much. I feel honored to know all of you.
Likewise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Folks, this is Voices for Change, and you're going to check us out on Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We are going to have another spectacular guest, and just look out for social networking that we do so that you can find out who that's going to be, because we got a number of people that are ready to be able to voice their opinions on our platform and be able to make a difference for other people's lives. But for now, we all want to say thank you for listening. Have a great day and the rest of the weekend.